Good morning. I want to call to order the South Carolina Commission of Disabilities and Special Needs meeting, the July meeting for 2018. Can we have the welcome notice, Vicki?
News release announcing the date, time, and place of the July 19, 2018 Commission meeting, July 17, 2018, to appropriate media and other groups or individuals who have requested notification. The announcement and agenda were posted at the Department of Disabilities and Special Needs Central Administrative Office, video conference locations, and on the website. The public has been notified that accommodations such as interpreters, mobility assistance, or other assistance will be provided to individuals with disabilities and special needs if requested in advance.
Thank you very much. Can I have the adoption of the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Great. Got adoption of that. At this time, we're going to go to executive session, which will be closed to public to deal with a personnel matter. May I have a motion to go into executive session?
Second.
All those in favor? Okay, we'll go into executive session. We're going to enter back into public session. We've been in executive session and no votes were taken. And at this time, we're back into public session. Lori, could you give us the invocation, please?
I could. If you bow your head, dear Heavenly Father, we bow our heads to seek your help and guidance with our affairs today. We thank you for everyone gathered here now, the members of the commission, the staff of DDSN, the participants who are in the room and beyond, the representatives of the community we serve. Thank you for knowing each of us by name and helping us in our affairs. God, as we begin this meeting, we ask that you would guide our thoughts and our actions so that we may accomplish our goals as you would have us do. And most importantly, help us keep in mind the needs of the individuals that we serve. Not our needs, not our interests, but our fellow South Carolinians with special needs and disabilities who depend on us to think bold thoughts and lead our state into the future. In your precious name we pray. Amen.
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 Thank you. Introduction of guests. I want to start at the front, right here. Thank you.
Hi, Ann Dalton, DDSN.
Great. Okay. Yes.
Joyce Davis, Brain Injury Association, South Carolina.
Deborah?
Deborah and Heather McPherson. Stacy Johnson, Richlands DSN.
John, Horry County DSN.
Jerry Bernard, Charles Lee Center.
Linda Lee, I have a daughter at Witten Center.
He's also the president of the Witten Center Parents Club.
Kathleen Roberts, Witten Center.
Parents Club, and had two sons that were served 31 years. They both deceased.
Okay.
I'm Suzanne Johnson from Coastal Center Parents, and also the treasurer of the Parents Group.
Great.
Richard Johnson, Parents and Guardian Association, Coastal.
Thank you.
Ray Miller, DD Council.
Robert Goodwin, Community Options.
Jennifer Morgan, ECM Support Services.
Sean Keith, Sumter County DSN Board.
Mike Keith, good afternoon. Mary Dillon, DSN.
Terry Todd, Bright Start.
Mike Moss, Calvin County Disabilities and Special Needs Board.
Stephanie Williams, Calvin County Disabilities and Special Needs Board.
Forward One Baptist Center.
Lynn Sig, DDSN.
Bob Jones, Newberry County.
Thormal Simmons, Protection and Advocacy.
Carly Fieldhouse, the ARC, South Carolina.
Jerry Miles, County DSN.
Dean Red, Carlton County Board of Disability and Special Needs.
All right. Thank you so much and welcome. Commissioners, can I have approval of the minutes from June 21st, 2018?
So moved.
All those in favor? Okay, ayes have it. Public input. Deborah? This is Deborah McPherson, I'm sorry.
Following last month's commission meeting, the Attorney General's Office rendered its opinion regarding DDSN's authority under the South Carolina Adult Health Care Consent Act. This opinion did not support DDSN's interpretation that Code 446633 gives DDSN priority as third to make healthcare decisions for individuals unable to consent of both family members. This opinion was that DDSN's priority of consent under this act is after any other adult relative by blood or marriage of the patient. DDSN is last in the current act's priorities. Thus, this opinion reaffirms that families without having to obtain legal guardianship have higher priority in making healthcare decisions for individuals with disabilities unable to consent than DDSN and its providers. Again, last month, thank you for reclaiming your authority as commissioners to review and approve the agency's policies, directives, and standards. I believe this is a step in the right direction for DDSN. The Commission should consider the Attorney General's opinion as well as DDSN's enabling legislation, the Adult Healthcare Consent Act, the Rights of Individuals with Intellectual Disabilities Act, and the DDSN Family Support Act, and reviewing DDSN's policies, directives, and standards that limit the authority of families who have not obtained legal guardianship in making healthcare decisions for individuals with disabilities unable to consent. DDSN has been changing its directives to person legal guardian without any reference to representatives as defined by the Rights of Individuals with Intellectual Disabilities Act, and the authority of family members to make healthcare decisions for individuals unable to consent without having to seek legal guardianship under the Adult Healthcare Consent Act. I've identified at least 10 agency directives that have been revised without reference to a representative in cases where the individual with a disability is unable to consent. 5 additional agency directives continue to make reference to legal representative. Recently revised Directive 133-02-DD could be interpreted to allow family members who are not legal guardians to be charged by DDSN for the cost of obtaining and copying records under FOIA for their family member with a disability unable to consent. DDSN staff has stated that these directive changes to person legal guardian are required because of the CMS final rule. However, DHHS has always allowed representatives to be involved and sign the plan of care for its recipients in the CLTC, Home and Community-Based Waiver. Many individuals served through CLTC waiver have intellectual related disabilities. Why are representatives allowed in DHHS waiver, but not DDSN's IDRD and community sports waivers? DHHS and DDSN operate 1915C waivers providing medical services funded through the same federal source that must follow the same federal regulations. I'm not advocating to take away the rights of those individuals with disabilities able to consent and make healthcare decisions for themselves. But I am concerned that DDSN staff changes in not recognizing representatives for those individuals with disabilities unable to consent will force families to obtain legal guardianship, many of whom may not have the resources in order to still be involved, make decisions, and protect the interest of their family member with a disability unable to consent. Our state, unlike some states, do not allow family members who are legally responsible to be paid as caregivers through its Medicaid waivers. Thus, family members who quit their jobs to take care of their adult family member with a disability unable to consent may no longer be able to be paid as caregivers through the Medicaid waiver if they obtain legal guardianship. After reviewing our state laws and the CMS final rule, I see no justification for these changes to DDSN's directives to remove references to an individual's representative and requiring families to obtain legal guardianship in cases where the adult individual with an intellectual disability is unable to consent. I would urge the Commission to seek CMS guidance on this issue. Commissioner Unum and I were in attendance of the hearing on June 25th before Judge Benjamin in the Richland County Court regarding the lawsuit filed by PNA against DDSN regarding DDSN failure to promulgate regulations. To my surprise, both parties have now agreed to try to resolve this issue through mediation by August 24th. Why did it take over 11 years to come to this decision? How many state taxpayer dollars have been spent defending DDSN's position that it is not required to promulgate regulations? Then I listened to the second meeting held Tuesday by the Mercer Health Group regarding DDSN's payment system. The input from providers fully support the need to change DDSN's payment system. I'm concerned, however, that the direction thus far seems to be how the current funding band system can be revised rather than what is needed to allow providers to bill Medicaid directly as required by Medicaid regulations. I would encourage DDSN staff and providers to learn more about the care call system that was developed nearly 15 years ago by Dr. Roy Smith at DHHS. Many other states purchased and implemented the care call system after it was developed in South Carolina. But DDSN refused to consider it when I asked about it when I served on the commission. Tom Waring told the commission it cost too much and then proceeded with contracting with the Jasper DSN board and Charles Lee Center for these functions. The care call system is still used by DHHS to bill its waiver services provided through the CLTC waiver. This system allows the provider to phone in and out to document the provision of services. The system checks Medicaid eligibility of the individual and ensures that only those services and hours authorized in an individual's plan of care and no more are paid. This information is sent electronically weekly to the financial manager of public partnership that then issues all payments. Only a few waiver services that DDSN provides, like day and residential HAB services, are not provided through the CLTC waiver. Care Call was developed to be used by CLTC to document and pay for adult health care services, so I'm sure that day and residential HAB services could be processed by this system. Finally, I would encourage DDSN and DHHS to reach out to consumers with disabilities and their families, the true stakeholders, to receive input regarding needed changes in DDSN's payment system. And that's something that I don't see happening thus far, but I hope will happen. And I do appreciate the referral to Holly Brown. I did talk to her for over an hour and gave her some follow-up information. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, Commissioners update.
I just wanted to let everyone know I had my third town hall meeting. I've been going around the state and talking with providers, and we were on June 28th down at the Coastal Center, and continue to get just a lot of great feedback about obviously the challenges that you all face, but also opportunities, looking at innovation when it comes to providing services for our consumers. I'm taking that information, and actually I went to Washington last Thursday in my role as chairman, and have relayed that information, and it's now going to become part of our plan going forward with our full committee when we meet in November. I'm going to be meeting over in Florence coming up in August. Look forward to meeting with all of you. And, if you have any questions, my email's public. Call me. I put out my cell number. I want to hear from you. It's informing me, and it's going to help me. And together, I want us to be able to carry forth from South Carolina an agenda that we can hopefully get pushed through at a national level. So I want to thank all of you that have participated so far, and I look forward to meeting with all of you that we're going to have future town halls. And Susan and Rufus and Pat were with me, and it's been great. And I get the sense too that the providers have enjoyed being able to talk and have us listen and learn. So thank you.
I also want to thank him. He took my brother a Diet Coke, which he loves. So I appreciate it. At the Coastal Center. Thank you very much. The committee assignments for next year. For the audit and the finance committee, we have Gary Lamel is going to be the chair. Chris Neely, I hope you'll serve with him, and Sam Broughton. The policy committee will be Vicki Thompson as chair, Laura Unum and Sam Broughton. And then the legislative committee, it's going to be Laura Unum and Chris Neely, and y'all can figure out what y'all want to do. And hopefully we're going to have someone new with us who will join you then, okay? Thank you very much. I appreciate that. All right, Pat, State Director's report, please.
Okay, thank you. The House Legislative Oversight Committee is restarting its hearings on the DDSN review. They've scheduled 3 hearings, July 30th, August 30th, and September 12th. And they hope that will wrap up the review, and they will write a report with recommendations this fall. The upcoming one on July 30th will be about the DDSN's performance management system. This is the 3rd attempt to get that one going. You guys have some PowerPoints, so I'll update that and get it to you before the testimony. On July 17th, Mercer Healthcare Consultants held the second stakeholders meeting on the DDSN payment system and rate study, and they have 3 more planned throughout the summer. Last night I sent you the 4th quarter reports, all but 2 of them that we're still working on. And again, I thank District 2 for sending us Rufus. Rufus has been helpful in bringing a field perspective to our reports, and we're going to have more accurate reports on another 2 matters, just addressing one of our most critical needs, which is tracking direct care workers in regional centers and the critical needs list. And we really have to have that down to a fine science because it's so critical to the success of our mission. For the last 3 months, I've been giving you a little segment here, and I think it's worthwhile to continue, which is what I call the residential observation audit technique that we've been using for about 6 months now. And I want to focus on the safety of our consumers, which is certainly the crown jewel of what we do, and just to give you some confidence what's going on in the field. Alliant conducted 31 residential observations in the month of June. They measure 9 criteria. The one I focus on during this meeting is the safety of our consumers. 25 of the 31 had no issues. 6 had partial issues. And the issues pertain to two non-communicative consumers had no formal devices or modifications for staff to communicate with them, which we consider a safety issue that needs to be addressed. 2 wheelchair-bound consumers did not have sinks set up for handicaps in their facilities, which we're going to address, which is a safety issue. Lack of a safety bar from the house to the garage. One did not know how to do a fire drill. And one consumer discussed having a prior dislike or conflict with a former staff member that's no longer in the house. And I say those things because I think it's important to hear what's happening on the front line, but most importantly, of all 31 houses, we interview anybody in the house, which would be certainly at least 1 staff member. And if most houses have 4 consumers, so just figure they talk to 2, you're talking to 90 to 100 people in the month of June. And not one interview noted a fact that pertained to abuse, neglect, and exploitation where they feel unsafe in the house. So I think we got to keep our finger on that pulse as we go forward. And certainly, I think it's one of the most important things we do by far. The case management rate issue, I sent you an email in a month, and this is going to be a 6-7 more month issue. I think as we get into it, we realize the role of conflict-free case management, how it overhangs this whole issue, comes together. At the Mercer healthcare meeting on 17th, this was a topic of discussion as to the impact of the rate change, the conflict-free case management arriving, and how that could possibly destabilize our case management system. So we're all aware of it. We're going very slow. In the last month, there has been improvement. I think there's more improvement to be had, but we just got to keep on chipping away on it every month to get us to a point to we've maximized the efficiency of our case management billing, see where we are, and at the same time, we've got to address the conflict-free case management issue. And this plays right into the Mercer rate study. I hope to come together this fall so that we can look at them together, because whatever we do here is critical to the stability of our system, and we've got to watch it closely. My last topic is we're going to have a DDSN Business Task Force meeting on the 1st, and the issue that we're going to talk about, which you need to know what's on the agenda. First is it's BabyNet and EI. As everybody knows, on July 1st, BabyNet was taken over by the Department of HHS. We're still doing the payments until they can build their payment system to absorb them. But when that does happen, it will be a fee-for-service model that impacts our boards, who currently paid in a non-capitated, but it's basically a function by position as opposed to fee-for-service. And so once they separate that work, which is about 74% what the boards do in this combined effort, it leaves us 24%, and we have to figure out how we're going to make those payments. And that's and we'll get the input from the community and develop a strategy. We'll also be talking about a process where we're going to batch all our new and policy updates on a quarterly basis to minimize the jamming up your email boxes with unnecessary emails. Also, it will stratify the changes in materiality, so the ones that are, there's no changes you can see, the ones that are significant changes you can see. And then most importantly, I think that will give a vehicle for the Policy Commission to look at and identify the key policies that they want to address, to pull up to their level, certainly give it a higher level of review and formal commission approval. In the last area, we're going to talk about a way to standardize our communications between providers and DDSN on areas of guidance and important topics, so that we can limit the broad email shotgun approach and really target our audiences with how we communicate and back it up with a redundant web page. So they're the topics we're going to talk about, and that's all I have.
Great, wonderful. All right. Business, the budget update, Pat?
All right. As far as all the issues that we had in the budget, they've gone through the governor's office, and he has not issued a veto, he's approved them. So for the upcoming fiscal year, the $11.3 million for the dollar increase for direct care and compression pay has been approved, $500,000 for Greenwood, and $500,000 for increased access to post-acute rehabilitation and therapies. So they have been finalized in the budget, and we'll be using this year. And then come September, we'll start the cycle over again. Any questions on the budget? All right. On the finance section, we finished the year. All the dust has not quite settled, but we ended up with approximately $2 million in cash left, which I think is a very thin margin, but Chairman Reverend L wants a penny left, and so I apologize for not spending it now further, but $2 million makes... Give
it to me. I told you if you didn't finish, give it to me.
There's just so many variables that come into how this all comes together at the end. I want to thank Lisa and her staff for bringing us, landing the plane, as I say. And but at the same time, this immediately springs us into preparing for next month's commission meeting when it comes to our spending plan. And from an expenditure standpoint, I've said in the past, we're pretty routine with how we spend money. And but the factor that has the most, I guess, variability is our revenue stream, because our revenue stream, 85% of our money is tied up in bands, and how we get the Medicaid reimbursement affects our revenue, and how that gets matched through the process is it's not an exact science, because we don't know exactly what services are going to be used throughout the year. And but we did come in with, I'm guessing the dust hasn't settled, but at least $5 or $6 million revenue shortfall. And so we have to understand how the system did not produce the matched revenue as we go into next year to make sure that we do address those things. But I will digress for a second just to give you a snippet of how things can change quickly as we're examining the case management issue. And the providers putting great effort into their billing practices. We normally run possibly about a $300,000 monthly deficit where we'd have to plug the gap with state funds. We're now down to a $60,000 deficit per month. And if you take that difference, multiply it by 12 and match it, that's $12 million. So we have some capacity in the system with a little bit more rigorous involvement on everybody's side to maximize revenues and billings for Medicaid. So it's not a crisis, but I think we just have to dot our I's, cross our T's, and do the fundamental management in all our programs to maximize our services and minimize the use of state funds. Any questions?
Sounds good to me. When I get the money. All right. You need to make a talk. Oh, okay. Vicki, you're going to introduce? This is from the state director selection process.
Yes. The search committee interviewed 6 candidates on June 20th. On June 21st, the search committee recommended to the full commission that 2 candidates would be interviewed by the full commission. In response to a FOIA request, information was sent out concerning 2 candidates. After the information was distributed, a question was presented to Commissioner LaMelle. Commissioner LaMelle will now comment on that question.
Thank you, Commissioner Thompson. So a question was raised based upon the fact that one of the 2 candidates had listed me down as one of 5 professional references that they had on their submissions as part of this job. Question was raised about the possibility of there being any conflict of interest based upon that particular recommendation. Personally, I had no concerns about that because I did not feel that there was any conflict of interest. But out of abundance of caution, once that concern came in, I ceased participating in the process and requested that our executive director, acting executive director, request an opinion from the State Ethics Commission to get some resolution on that. I'm happy to report that that response came back from the general counsel, that there was in fact no conflict based upon that. There was no conflict based upon any of the facts that were presented to general counsel, and that there was no reason why I could not continue to participate in the process of searching for the new executive director. On that basis, then, I have continued to work fully and participate fully in that process. I appreciate the people coming forward to me who had concerns about this. I'm always happy to address those concerns to the best of my ability. I feel very confident, both personally and based upon this opinion, that at no point in time did I have a conflict of interest that in any way was improper or presented any appearance of impropriety at all. And I would just like to, I just wanted a chance to address this formally on the record in the open so that there was no question, 1, that I had addressed this, and 2, in the manner in which I had addressed it. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
So, after several months of advertising, screening, and interviewing, it is my great pleasure to nominate Mary Poole as our State Director of the South Carolina Department of Disabilities and Special Needs.
Do you have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So Mary Poole will be our next State Director, and I guess you're giving, this is your last job as Director. I've enjoyed it. Thank you.
It's been
Let the
on.
record show unanimous and acclamation.
Thank you very much. It's great. Glad to have it done. The next regular meeting will be August 16th.
Probably a good point.
Huh?
Vicki, we had one abstention.
We had one
We had one
abstention.
let the record reflect that.
I abstained.
He abstained. Okay.
Thank you.
The next regular meeting is August 16th, and we will not have an executive session today. Thank you very much. See you all.